Hi, YouTube family. Welcome back to Recording Movies Recap. Today I will show you a post-apocalyptic zombie movie from 2016, titled The Girl with All the Gifts. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Melanie is lying in bed as the lights in her cell come on. She gets up and starts preparing for school. Two soldiers come in and she greets them happily, but the only thing they care about is securing her to the wheelchair. They wheel her out in the hallway, getting her in a line with other children like her. Melanie and the others are placed in a classroom positioned by numbers. Melanie asks the teacher, Miss Justino, to tell them a story and proposes she reads them a myth so that it could count as history. The teacher complies reluctantly and reads them the myth of Pandora's box. After class, Melanie is taken back to her cell, where the two edgy soldiers refuse to greet her goodnight. Later, she's given dinner. The serving is a plate full of worms. She falls asleep as she eats. The next day, Melanie gets a visit from Dr. Caldwell. The girl has solved a riddle the doctor had given her, so she gives her a new one. Explaining that it's a logic problem, she asks her to solve the problem of Schrodinger's cat. When Melanie can't answer, the doctor writes something down concerning her behavior and reads it back to her, calling her a subject. Lastly, the doctor asks Melanie for a number, and she replies with 13. Later, the soldiers pick her up and the other children for school. Again, as Melanie is being wheeled past the numbered cells, she sees that number 13 hasn't been opened. When she gets to the classroom, the same numbered place remains empty. The teacher decides to give them a writing assignment for that particular class, and the children are worried that they wouldn't know what story to tell. Melanie is the only one writing a longer one in her notebook. So when the teacher asks for someone to read it loud what they wrote, she quickly raises her hand. She depicts herself as the savior and hero in her writing. The teacher gets overwhelmed by the story and goes over to Melanie, wanting to touch her. Suddenly, Sergeant Parks bursts inside the classroom and screams that touching the children is forbidden. He wants to give Justino a reminder of why that's the case, so he walks up to one of the children and rolls his sleeve, bringing his arm close to it. The child sniffs him and unhinges its jaw, wanting to bite him. The other children mimic the same behavior. After the class, Sergeant Parks walks into Melanie's cell as the others are getting ready to take off her restraints. The girl antagonizes him, so he leaves her restrained to the chair. The same night, Justino goes to see Melanie, and when she realizes that she has been left like that, she walks into the cell and starts taking off the restraints. The girl gets a sniff of the teacher's scent and starts turning like the other children. Before Melanie turns completely, she tells the teacher to get out. Later that night, Dr. Caldwell comes to visit her again. They chat. He wheels her out of the facility as gunshots are heard all around. Soldiers are seen running and shooting toward the fence of the military complex. Melanie is confused by the sight as Parks wheels her to another part of the complex and takes her in a laboratory where Dr. Caldwell is waiting. She asks the girl about Schrodinger's cat, but when she doesn't get the response she wants, she explains that the cat in the box is both alive. Few other promising words. She convinces the teacher to put her weapon down, and immediately pepper sprays her, incapacitating her so the soldiers can arrest her. She explains to her that she isn't just cutting Melanie up but is using her as a source for a vaccine. Justino is taken away and alarms start blaring. Caldwell tells the other doctor to drop the shutters, but as she does that, a zombie breaks off the glass, biting her relentlessly. Caldwell kills the zombies, cutting her own hand in the process. The other doctor starts turning completely touch her. The girl grabs a scalpel and frees herself from the restraints. Melody walks outside to find complete chaos in the complex, zombies running around attacking soldiers as they try to shoot them down. Suddenly she sees Justino getting beat up by the soldiers. Enraged, she runs toward them, attacks, and bites them, eventually killing them both before passing out. Justino waits, followed by a hurt. Sometime later, it stops in the middle of nowhere as Parks and Kieran realize that Melanie is in the back of the vehicle with them. Justino lets the girl out as Caldwell screams that doing that is not her decision to make. Melanie runs just a little way off from the vehicle and stops, clearly seeing the outside for the first time. The others stay by the vehicle, trying to radio to other outposts, to no avail, as the doctor tells them to retrieve her test subject. Parks, Kieran, and Caldwell check the vehicle for supplies, but find no water or food, just a mask used to retrieve zombies. The sergeant makes a plan to go south to Beacon. Assuming everyone back at the complex is dead except the zombie children, they put Melanie on the gunner's seat of the vehicle, strapped in and masked, and make their way to a river to get water. When they arrive there, a few zombies find them, prompting a shootout with the soldiers. One of the soldiers gets bitten in the fight, so Parks waits a moment to see if he'll turn, and when the process starts, he shoots him, closing the doors of the vehicle. He realizes that Justino has brought Melanie in with works more as a symbiote than a parasite like in the others. Going deeper in the city, they find a huge mass of bodies growing into a massive fungus that Caldwell suspects is the reason why no walking zombies are around. When enough of them come together, they transform into the mature stage of the fungus that can pollinate larger areas if not the entire world on their way. They suddenly find a mobile laboratory. They get inside the vehicle and start looking. Traffic Park tries the engine first and then the radio, no response. Kieran leaves on a supply run and Melanie is getting uneasy like she's about to turn. She tells them that she needs to eat too and they let her out to hunt. She finds her food fast and tears right through it. When she's done eating she hears a strange sound. Then she starts talking about Melanie again and how she needs her brain and spine to make the vaccine, much to Justino's displeasure. Suddenly Melanie returns and tells them about the children she saw, convinced that they will hunt for Kieran. He's seen walking down a street and suddenly find Justino and lead them back to safety. They arrive at the lab to see that the door is open. When they walk inside, Caldwell sedates them with some kind of gas. She pulls Melanie toward the slab to perform her procedure, but stops because she's in terrible pain from her hand. She turns around for a moment to fix it, but when she turns back around, Melanie is already conscious and alert. They talk and she tries to convince the girl to give herself up so that she can save everyone with her vaccine. Melanie almost agrees, but asks one last question. She wants to know if the doctor thinks she's alive or just mimicking human behavior. Caldwell answers with the former. Then the girl says, "Why should we die to save you?" Melanie runs out, leaving the doctor in the lab, but she follows her, lagging behind Melanie with no gun or protection. Caldwell is immediately surrounded by the zombie children. Meanwhile, the girl goes to the affected film. Justina was woken up by Melanie. Some time has clearly passed. She take out a whiteboard with her and starts a class with the zombie children listening to her from the other side of the lab window. Melanie is their leader now, and they all attend Miss Justino's lessons together. Kindly subscribe and like.